Good evening and welcome back to the third tier. It's Monday the 10th of May and you're in for another jam-packed edition of League One action, as well as meeting a newly relegated Championship side and a newly promoted League Two side. So let's kick off with the usual gang and say good evening to Ben and Matt. Matt, how you doing?
Very well, thank you, mate. Yep, season's come to an end for me now, so it's time to look forward to the playoffs and always enjoyed a close season. I think the retained list for Gills is meant to be out at the end of the week, and I'm currently sifting through free agent lists and seeing who's available for a potential targets video to come out in a couple of weeks. But no, I've got to enjoy a little rest as well, because it does take up a lot of our time doing this type of thing. And yeah, good to see Gills end with a win as well. So a positive end to the Gills season. Frustrating, that them drop points over the last few weeks ultimately cost us a little bit. But if someone had said to me 10th again at the start of the campaign, I'd have been more than happy.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's good to see Dean Oliver get his 20th goal of the season as well. He's had a superb season and he's shined in your team. And Ben, how are you? 55 streams and still going, but Fleetwood season's over and you can focus on someone that's not your team.
Absolutely, and I think someone asked me what was my favourite moment of the season. I can say the final whistle yesterday was definitely the best moment for Fleetwood season. A jam-packed season. Obviously, a manager up to halfway through. Then Grayson steadied the ship, got a new deal, which I think was a bit too long. But again, we've got to give him the opportunity. And like Matt, you're kind of going through retain list, going through transfer targets for next season. But it is nice to always have a break. And normally, I'm always excited for the next season, but at the moment, I'm just quite happy for a little bit of a rest, and we go again. And looking forward to watching the playoffs, and hopefully, Tom, for your lot, you might not be here in a few weeks.
I'll still be here, mate. Depending on what football I'm watching is going to be a different story, but I'll still be here next season. Genuinely, for sort of early thoughts, I know you haven't signed anyone or let anyone go yet, but early thoughts going into next season, do you think Grayson can improve on what you've done this season and potentially do what Joey's done, or do you think you're going to have a couple of years of sort of settling back down with the new manager?
I think, I'll be settling back down. And my dad said, if you can finish 9th, would that be a disappointment? I went 9th. I'd bite your hand off for that right now. Obviously, Grayson, my dad said, don't worry about how long the contract is. Most managers haven't served that. And I thought to myself, no Fleetwood manager have left for another club, actually. They've all been sacked and not lasted 3 years. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think Grayson will better what Joey did or Uwe Rosler did. But it's going to be interesting. He needs his own players, and then we can start to judge. At the moment, you can't judge a manager when he wants to play a certain way and he hasn't got the players to do it, because he was playing a back four, he wants to play a back three. So hopefully he can do it, but my hopes are not high, I must admit.
Yeah, we're going to crack on with a lot to talk about with the League One news, despite it being the end of the season. Obviously, a lot got confirmed during the week, but we'll start today's news off with the Cowley brothers signing a new deal. Matt, I'll come to you first as you sip your drink. I think ultimately it's no shock that they've signed a contract, and they'd be silly not to take those two back on, would they?
Yeah, I think it's a really good appointment. We said at the time when they first took, I didn't realise it was only till the end of the season. I must admit, I thought it was already a sort of an 18-month thing or a rolling contract. But no, it's a brilliant appointment for Portsmouth, and it gives them an opportunity in the summer, doesn't it, to have a clear out of the types of players that they don't want at the club, that don't fit into the way they play. And then they've got a whole pre-season and a whole transfer window to go and recruit properly. And there's lots of good players available. Been looking at out a contract list myself over the last 24 hours or so. And there's plenty of decent free agents out there. And Portsmouth will have a bit to spend as well. And I'll be very surprised if they're not a lot better next season than they have been under in the last couple of seasons under Kenny Jackett. I'm not, you can't put this failure to get in the top 6 under Danny or Nicky Cowley because they've come in with 10 games to go. I think they'd probably be disappointed themselves that they've not got in the playoffs, their own type of professional pride. But I think the problems were there before they came in, and it's not their team essentially. They've had to work with someone else's tools, and they've still only just missed out really. So I think next season Portsmouth will be big players in terms of the top 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Joe. Says up the pool. Only one Chris Maxwell. Not that EFL seem to know he exists, which is good. Keep him under the radar.
He was in my team of the year.
And Ben's, yeah. So credit to you too. Charlie, good evening. Hope you're well. Les, good evening. John, good evening. Nice to see you back in the stream, mate. Ben, Ben, your thoughts? Obviously, I completely agree with what Matt said. They'd be literally silly not to keep him on. So I think it'd be a failure for them not to go up next season already, despite them not even having the pre-season yet. That's got to be their main aim, hasn't it?
Spot on, and everyone goes on about the Cowleys' time at Huddersfield. He won 13 games out of 40 there, drew 11, lost 16, which I don't think for a Huddersfield side that was struggling is that bad. Look at his time at Portsmouth. Yes, he won his first 4, and since then he's only win 2, draw 2, lost 4, which is disappointing. But again, the way he came out after the game, and he goes, "I've let the Portsmouth supporters down." Whereas Jacket a few months ago was going, "It's a good way to lose." And if that's going to get him on the Portsmouth side anymore, that comment will do. And it's good to see. I said to my mate who's a Portsmouth fan, in 3 years I can see them being a mid-table championship side. Let them you've got to be patient with these types of managers, and you want to work for them. They're positive in their approach, but they also know when to give a kick up the backside as well. So I think it's a great appointment long term. And they'll get the players to back. And obviously Sean Raggett, could he come into his own? He worked with the Cowleys at Lincoln, and we could see a couple of others. Callum Connolly's out of contract. Everton on loan at Fleetwood. They signed him at Lincoln. I know Ipswich are interested as well. So they'll get the right types of players as well. So I think Portsmouth will be right up there next season.
Yeah, it brings me on to my next point. I know Matt just alluded to the fact that it isn't really their failing, but I looked at this and I thought they had opportunities throughout the season to stay in the playoffs, and everyone was saying Cowley's, brothers are back. They won their first 3 games, 2-1, wasn't it? And then they went on that little bit of a blip. I'm going to give my sort of a point on it. I think it's a failure, regardless of not their failure or not. But the fact they were 6th even on the last day of the season, and I know Accrington Stanley, I'll give them every single credit this year. I think they've been incredible. I said they've been that team which have caused a lot of people upset. They've gone to a lot of sides like Sunderland and Drew, and they've beaten some big sides this year as well. But to be at home, regardless of the fan situation, against Accrington Stanley, to say you need to win to get playoffs and gives you a chance to shot of promotion. I'll start with you, Ben, see it as a failure yourself or not?
Of course it's a failure. When you've got players like Marcus Harness, John Marquis, Ronan Curtis, Johnson at the back, Craig McGilvery, good goalkeeper. It is always going to be a failure. But again, the players have let the fans down. Awful management, in my opinion. I've said it many times. They weren't always set up to win, and they were soft. And it's what's let them down as well this year. I know this is no excuse; it's been the same. But the home form, a couple of years ago, it was rare if Portsmouth lost a home game, and you had to be on your game to beat them. And they've lost a lot of home games. Doncaster beat them at Fratton, Wigan Athletic beat them, Blackpool beat them. We got a point against them. That's different. That's 10 points dropped, and 10 points is a lot in the season. And it's as simple as that. It's a huge failure because Portsmouth Football Club are the second or the third biggest in the league. And yeah, it's nothing else to say other than it's a failure, and they've got to go again next year, bigger and stronger. I don't think they failed since the Cowleys have come in. I think it was way before that, losing to Northampton away. That was a final straw, and losing the final, and kind of those final games that he won, the Papa John's Trophy, was the cracks over the paper for Jacket.
Yeah, and you're spot on. I think they're 15th in the home table and 5th in the away table. It just shows how much their home form let them down. Matt, you have a different perspective on it, or do you ultimately see it as a failing, or do you think that they were just trying to sort of glue together what was left at the start of the season? They've done a good job overall.
No, I see it as a failure in terms of Portsmouth. Portsmouth are a big enough club that they should be competing right in the top 2, and they should be, competing to be automatic all the time. I don't see it as anything other than a failure for Portsmouth Football Club. What I'm saying is I don't see it as a failure on the part of Danny and Nicky Cowley. They've had to come in and work with someone else's side, and they've had no pre-season. They've had to learn on the job. They've had to play Saturday, Tuesday, so there's minimal time to get on the training ground and try and get their own ideas across. So for me, they were fighting a losing battle. It's on Kenny Jackett and it's on the players, because like Ben said, that squad is full of absolute quality at this level. You've probably got one of the best centre forwards in John Marquis. You've got Ronan Curtis, who's an international. You've got experience all over the park. You've got one of the best keepers, strong defence on paper, but for one reason or another it's not worked out. And managers, whether that's Kenny Jackett, Danny and Nicky Cowley, Pep Guardiola or anyone, you can only do so much on the training ground, but once they cross that white line, it's up to them players, and they've not been good enough. And that's why Danny Cowley was right in his interview on the Quest Show, and he said the table doesn't lie, and it doesn't. And they've come up short over 46 games, and they're going to be stuck in this division again.
Yeah, on the subject of the players letting him down, we had a question in from GFCO and even a mate. What do you make of Pompey's players going out drinking after the game? I don't know if you've seen the video, but I think it was
Curtis,
yeah,
wasn't it, on Snapchat?
yeah,
Yeah,
Curtis. It was his
yeah.
personal Snapchat as well, and I know they're off duty and the season's done, but for me it was bad taste just to put it on social media.
He's an
Ben?
absolute idiot. He's an absolute idiot. And, I've always thought he was a penny short of the pound, that lad, I must admit. And, good player, don't get me wrong. And I don't care that he's gone out drinking, absolutely no problem. But to put it on Snapchat, to go, come on, boys, let's go. Straight after you put in a performance like that, there was more fight in raising the glass there than there was on that picture. So that was a disgraceful performance. So, I don't care. Just don't put it on Snapchat. Leave it for a bit. Leave it. And, not even to come out with an apology. I'd feel sick by that. And, I don't mind going out for a drink, like I said, but just leave the Snapchat.
Yeah. Wasn't it also him on the highlight show? If you looked at it at the full-time whistle, you see Danny Cowley come out, shake hands with all the Accrington players, and all the Portsmouth players look devastated. Curtis, straight off down the tunnel, scuttling away. There's something, like Ben said, something doesn't sit right with me. His attitude doesn't seem quite right. And maybe there's a problem there, and that's probably why he's not got to move to the Championship. Because in terms of ability, he's very good, and he scores goals, he makes goals, he creates chances. But I don't know, maybe we'd have to get a Portsmouth perspective from people that watch him week in, week out. But certainly from an outsider, there's something that's not quite right there in terms of the attitude for me. And like Ben said, to be on Snapchat within a couple of hours of putting in that showing, missing out on the chance to get in the play. What more team talk did they need? They didn't need a Kenny Jackett team talk. They didn't need a Danny Cowley team talk. They had to go out there for 90 minutes, put it all on the line, win the game, and they're in the playoffs. They messed it up horrifically.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Got John. So yeah, John's come in. He's just put a question to Les in the chat. Les, if you keep Graham and Dempsey and build around that, no reason why he can't challenge for the playoffs. Les has just commented with that. It's a big if, and I completely agree.
Can I just say, Tom, by the way, how some manager let Kyle Dempsey leave Fleetwood, I will never. That is a criminal act. Because all I'm going to say is Kyle Dempsey is not a bad apple, because, I saw when he went to Peterborough, I was baffled. And then he came back in, and obviously he didn't want to sign a new deal because he wants to be respected. And Steve Evans has basically gone to him, look, son, you're a great player. Yeah, I've seen you attacking flair. Go and put the ball in the back of the net, and he's done that 7 or 8 times this season. And in my opinion, he's in my League One underrated team by a country mile. He's a superb player.
One player of the year last night as well.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
exactly.
going to say, Ben, and I apologise to the listeners and the viewers. Let it go.
If you listen on the audio, I've probably got a tissue here. Tissue under the glasses.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a quality player, and you've only gone on about it about 27 times this season. Tony's put in Forest linked with Cole Dempsey on that subject. Matt, probably paper talk, because they've been linked with Jerry Yates as well. Leave him alone. Is he under a long-term contract, and how much do you think you would want for him?
I think Dempsey has got another year. So whatever happens, we're gonna make out of it if he does leave. Obviously, we don't want him to leave. He's been absolutely superb all season, and in terms of consistency, that's probably what's just swung it for him in terms of nicking Player of the Year off for Dane Oliver. But Dane got my vote, and he won Players Player of the Year at the end of season awards last night. And but Carl Dempsey, I've got no issue with him winning Player of the Year. He's been absolutely spot on all season. And in terms of a fee, I think the Forest bid was around $750,000 if you believe social media. But I know there's been a bit of to and fro in amongst a couple of in the know pages on Twitter today I've seen and not got involved in. But yeah, I'd be disappointed if we got less than $500,000 considering his performances this season. But it's the start of silly season, and we've got about 3 months of it yet before it all calms down, and there'll be plenty more transfer pages popping up once kids have finished their GCSEs, unfortunately.
Season's not even told yet, and I've seen about 27 rumours already. Yeah. Like you say, silly season. John's just put Tony, I believe Dempsey's come out on Twitter saying he's under contract for a year. Tangerine Rob has, good evening, Tangerine Rob, has Marquise lived up to his reputation? I'm going to put a no on that just because he hasn't been consistent enough. I don't know if you two agree, but in a word.
He started well. He was like top goal scorer up till December, January time. And you had a bit of a drought, didn't he? And I think he's got 17 or 18 goals now. But when you think 6 goals in the back half of the season, you should be, over 20. And plus with the opportunities that he gets a lot of big opportunities that he fails to take.
I disagree slightly. I think Jackett was playing him as a number 10 for about 2 months. So he's a centre forward. Why are you playing a centre forward in a midfield role when he's one of the most natural finishers at this level? You spent £1 million on him to bring him to the club to score you goals, and you play him as an attacking midfielder. He's got 16 goals and 6 assists in 41 appearances in the league. I don't think he's failed. That's not the problem, and that's not the reason why Pompey ain't got a player.
No, I wouldn't call him a failure.
He's a top goal scorer.
I think he's lived up to his reputation. He averages 18 goals a season over the last 5 or 6. He's 2 off that, and he had to play midfield for 2 months.
That I agree with. And I think next season, I think they'd be silly not to keep him and give him that opportunity to play him as their main man next season. Sign a couple of backup strikers, number 10s, whatever you want to call it. And I think he'll thrive under the Cowleys when they've had a full pre-season and get their sort of mentality and their fitness regime underneath him. Evening, Andy. Moving on from the Cowleys and Portsmouth, taking up a good 16 minutes of the show, so I hope you like that, Portsmouth fans. We're going to talk about, unfortunately, a little bit of a sore subject for Rotherham fans, but I'm going to introduce Matt now. Matt, welcome to the stream. Got 2 Matts. Matt's on the left, Matt on the right. Commiserations, first and foremost. Relegation's never easy, and I can't fathom how you feel. We've all been through relegations in the past, but to do it in the 89th minute must have been heartbreaking on Saturday.
Yeah, an absolute kick in the stomach. That game summed up our entire season. We were a better team. We were comfortably a better team. We just didn't score enough goals. The goal we did score was a fantastic goal, but we could have scored 2 or 3 goals that would look really simple goals. We just didn't put the ball back in net. Defended quite well. Their goals, a shot from edge of box, defended pretty well for the most part of the game. And just 3 minutes from safety and to get it. It's just, nightmare.
I do apologise for bringing it up, but I was doing some research or just looking into some stats last night, and your goal XG, one for the statos out there, you're meant to be 12th in the league based on chances created. So has your defence been that bad this season, or has your finishing been even worse?
It's the finishing that's the problem. We switched from, in about November time, we switched to a 3-5-2, and since then Richard Wood, who is about 100 years old, has just been an absolute man mountain. We're already very good, but that 3-5-2, it protects him, because Richard Wood's brilliant, but he can't run to save his life, and it just gives him that extra bit of protection. So defensively, we've looked absolutely fantastic for the most part, obviously odd individual errors. But the strikers we've got, Michael Smith has been very, very good in League One, and he'll run all day long. We can't, he's top scorer with 10 goals, which is a fantastic return for Michael Smith, but it's not enough. Freddie Ladapo has not played enough. He's scored 9 goals. I think he might be a League One player. I'm not sure he's got the overall game to cut it in the Championship. The goals in League One, he scored a lot of strikers' finishes inside 6-yard box, inside 12 yards of the goal. His goals this season, he scored 4 or 5 from outside of the area, which is fantastic. But we didn't spend the money on him to score screamers. We need somebody in the box to put it in. He's missed too many chances, so it is our strikers that's let us down. We had George Hurst alone from Leicester this season, who were meant to be the next big thing, and he didn't score a single goal. He didn't look like scoring a single goal. Strikers have let us down, unfortunately.
I've seen today that I personally don't think it's going to happen, just based on where the season is at, i.e. ended. Newsbreaking to that Hull might go down yet instead of Wickham, because they're going to appeal the points deduction if they don't give them one, which is what happened to Sheffield Wednesday, and they got an immediate 6-point deduction. So it will be weird, but personally I can't see them doing it now, and if it takes a week or two, I can't see them doing it 2 weeks after the season finished. But Tony's put, if only you hadn't loaned out that goal machine, Carl. We were talking pre-show about that. I think it's a sign of Rotherham's season, because he would have needed 4 or 5 opportunities, and maybe he would have got less in the Championship because of the better quality defending. But I'll go to you first, Matt. You've got a question for Matt.
Yeah, obviously it's a similar theme as well. I was just looking at your top scorers, and you've mentioned Michael Smith and Freddie Ladapo and Matt Crooks, all 3 that were really good in League One for you last season. I remember Matt Crooks scoring a really good goal at the Priestfield against us when you battered us 3-0. Freddie Ladapo, I think, is another one who's, I don't know, I think he might have had a reputation just for thinking he's a little bit better than he is, and I thought at the time that 500,000 for him was way over the top, considering what people have spent on other players that have gone and scored 30, 40 goals in 50 goals over 2 seasons. But Paul Warne, I noticed today there's been breaking news has come out and said that he's taking a small break from football to decide whether he still wants to be in the job next season. Have you heard anything at your end? Because I just wanted to know your take on him, because the gap seems huge now from the Championship to League One. And I just wanted to get your take on it. I've seen stupid figures regarding annual wage bills for that level, and obviously you can't compete. So I just wanted to know what your sort of inside take on it was, having been in there every other season for what feels like about the last 20 seasons.
I'm Warney's future. As a fan, Warney can stay for as long as he likes for me. If he wants job for 10 years, he is a legend on the pitch as a player and off the pitch as a manager. He just oozes class. You can't listen to what he says and not just like him. It's just instant. His interview after the game on Saturday, as a fan, it was really difficult to watch because he was literally crying, stood there crying because of how much it means to him. And that's what you want as a manager for me. I want that guy in charge to care about the club as much as I do. And he does. He gets Rotherham United. Certain managers get certain clubs. All I want from my team is for them players to be willing to run through a brick wall. And Paul Warne will do that. He's tried to bring players in who will do that. I think he'll stay. He's a very emotional person, as you see from the post-match interview. He is emotional, heart on his sleeve. But at the same time, he had to sort of bottle it up, because he couldn't have done that in February, because everybody sort of questioned his strength. It built up, and that was a bit of a release. A couple of weeks off, go walk his dog around field, spend some time with his family. I think he'll be back and ready. We weren't far off. Like I said, we were only 3 minutes away. The XG is... People don't like it, but it points to how close you are in games. I think we lost 19 games by 1 goal this season. So we are literally just 2 or 3 goals away from safety, as stupid as that sounds. The gap is, I don't think it's as big as what it's been. The quality, the difference is just putting that ball in the back of the net a couple more times. Wickham exactly the same. If Wickham had got a couple more goals, they would have stayed up. I don't think the gap is huge. I think there's a gap between the top 6 teams in the Championship and the rest of the division. If you've got a goal scorer, you've got a very, very good chance of staying up in the Championship.
I don't disagree with everything. I watched Paul Warne's interview and I got emotional, because you can just see the raw emotion from him. And I am an emotional guy as well. But I thought he was articulate. I think he was passionate, and I think he said the right things. It is easy for him to come out and say, we didn't deserve to go down. But he was very humble. And I think it's his personal choice. If he doesn't stay, that's up to him. But I think, I can see from your emotion as well, Matt, that if he does stay, he's going to be welcomed with open arms. Fans will be back next season. And as much as it sounds silly, you'll probably forget about last season or season just gone, and you'll be raw and ready to go and cheer on the lads to get you back where you were.
Yeah, you always get questions when you're struggling in any league, even if the guy's a legend. You still get fans questioning, and he'll be the first one to admit that he's made mistakes, and it's a matter of learning from. We have progressed from last time in the Championship, which is almost all you can ask for, as long as we're moving forward. But yeah, if we get back into New York in August and we win 7 out of the first 10 games, 5 out of the first 10 games, everybody will forgot about it. Everybody will be loving life again. People have short memories in football, don't they?
Absolutely. Young Ben's got a question, but I also have got one more before we talk about sort of next season, because 3 people have asked the same question, so I'll come to it in a second. But Ben, over to you.
Yeah, I think it's like only 1 win in 12 or 1 win in 13 for them. You have drawn 3 or 4 of them as well. I look all on that, like just sounding like Michael Smith, because he had a green tea when you met him, stuff like that. Came from the fitness coach, 2 promotions, and remember that squad he inherited in the Championship. That was a disaster. He's improved them over a period of time. Was you relieved that you thought on the final day you could stay up, because one win in that amount of time? I know Derby only got one win since February as well. We kind of relieved, thinking awful fun, but we can still stay up.
Basically, yeah, it was one of the worst relegation fights, I think, in history of football. Nobody wanted to stay up. We couldn't win. Derby couldn't win. Wednesday were the form team out of the 3 of us having won something like 2 in 10. It was just a set of teams that couldn't win for different reasons, to be fair. Derby have got their own issues, which is for another time. Our schedule absolutely killed us. When in the Championship, we tried to play a high energy, high press game. With playing Saturday, Tuesday every week is very difficult. We can't do it. It takes our edge away. And then that week where we had to play 4 games in a week was just ridiculous. And they were all games that against Birmingham, against Coventry, were down there with us. We just had to keep up with them, and we couldn't keep up with them. It's easy to say that's the schedule's cost us, but it hasn't helped. There's numerous factors which every club will have: referees' decisions, schedule, a bit of bad luck. It's just one of those things in football. But it was, as proven out in the last 8 seasons, it was very, very, very fine margins.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think COVID's had its issues with a lot of squad this year. I mean, Blackpool been the same. They've had to play Saturday and Tuesday for God knows how long, and they got to the point where we were just running on empty, and it is tough. But let's focus on the positives. Just a quick one. We've had a comment in from Wayne. We can't have 2 Matts on the show. Steel cage match and Lose has to change their name to Sally. So my question, Matt, before we talk about going into next season, and we've had it from Joe, the Seasiders podcast, Evening Seasiders podcast, and Tangerine Rob as well. If only you had a Jerry Yates type player. Now, watched Jerry Yates for most of the season this year, and he didn't score in his first sort of 8 or 9 games, and then he got a double at Burton. He is probably one of the most well-rounded strikers I've watched in a Tangerine shirt in terms of work rate, skill, technical ability, and finishing. Why was it? Do you think you were willing to let him go, or did you just not think it was in his plans? Because I think he would have done well for you this season.
Yeah, it was sort of a mixture of both. The season we went down badly from the Championship. He played in it and he started quite well. But I wonder if it brought on a bit of a psychological scar from Paul Ward to him as well. The team was just crap. It was a rubbish team, but he played a big part of it. And then when we went down to League One, we tried to bring in a few more strikers. Kiefer Moore were fantastic for us on loan. Jerry Proctor, when he first came in, he was really good for us. He couldn't get in the team. He went out on loan originally to Carlisle, did pretty well. What should have happened is he should have stayed at Carlisle for that full season and came back the following season, done a full pre-season with us, off we go. But he didn't. We called him back in January, and he barely played again from January to May. He just didn't play. From what you've said then, I assume he's the type of player that needs to play a number of games before he can find his rhythm, before he finds his shooting boots. He never got that run of games for us. His work rate was never, ever in question. And to be fair, the fans were, while it was playing for us, the fans were always banned because he's, come through the youth academy. We really want him to do well. It did for us. He never looked like he was going to score enough goals, which is now very, very ironic. Bearing in mind I scored for his Swindon, now he's scored for Blackpool this season. Maybe he just didn't fit into our system. I don't know, but we like hard workers, and he does seem a very, very hard worker. It just seems like one of them that he's just not quite fit into. Certain players don't fit at certain clubs, which is frustrating, as happens a lot with us, unfortunately.
Probably a case of wrong place, wrong time type thing. And I'm sure we'll go on to bigger and better things, hopefully, with Blackpool next season. Going on to next season, do you think you're going to have a massive clear out, or you've just described a few players that you think are League One level and are going to be top quality at League One? So how do you think you're going to cope next year?
There will be some differences. I think we'll get rid of some players. Crooksy will go. Matt Crooks will stay in the Championship for me. He deserves a chance, at least another chance with somebody else. Hopefully we can bring in a bit of money for him. I'm torn on Freddie. I think Freddie is a League One player, but I think we can get some money for him. Derby were in for him in January, apparently. But I think Freddie's one of them players that will be quite easy to sell. He's got 9 goals, but he's not played that much. His goals, he's scored a very, very good goals. I think you could sell him to somebody for some money if needs be. Michael Smith, again, Michael Smith deserves another chance at the Championship. He's got 10 goals and he's not a natural goal scorer. But is he happy in our team? He's the main man. Is he happy to stay at Rotherham and get us back up again? Defence will stay as basically as, and for the most part, the midfield will. But at the minute, we've got 2 strikers on books. That's Michael Smith and Freddie Ladapo. Freddie will probably go. Michael Smith might go. So attacking-wise, there was going to be some changes. Defensively, I think we look pretty set. Hickway and Woody are outstanding at League One level. Angus MacDonald we brought in the Championship. He was fantastic in the Championships. Hopefully he stays. Wes Harding, who played right wing-back this season, he could be the best right-back in the division next season in League One. He was absolutely outstanding for us in the Championship. defensively, but attacking very, very good as well. So he's certainly one to watch out for next season, assuming he stays.
Fantastic. We've got a question from Daniel. I'm not sure what it means, but I've seen you on the news earlier during a goal for Wednesday. How did that make you feel?
Well, I went on because it was obviously the final day decided. We were on ITV calendar, local ITV news, and of course we're fighting Sheffield Wednesday. We need Sheffield Wednesday to beat Derby for us to stay up. I celebrated a Sheffield Wednesday goal, which made me feel all dirty, but it just came out.
The answer to that, Daniel, is
happens to all of us.
Sandrine Robb has asked, which relegated sides do you think could potentially do a Hull and bounce right back?
Tough one, that, isn't it? We are, stupid as it sounds, we are best set out of the 3 teams coming down. Who knows what's going to happen with Sheffield Wednesday? I haven't got a clue. They're a complete mess, and from a Rotherham fans' point of view, that's quite funny. But then I like Darren Moore. Darren Moore's it looks like a really, really good manager. Did a pretty good job at Donny. He will have some funds. Wickham, I don't think will go. They still won't win the league. I don't think. If I was a Wickham fan, I would be hoping we can at least challenge for the playoffs. Maybe by invest a bit of money. We're the best set, but it all depends on. We need to bring some goals in, as proven by this season just gone. If we can bring in an improvement on Freddie, then we will probably be in a comfortable position. But it's going to be a tough League One next year. I'm gutted we've got relegated because it's going to be a very, very tough league. There's some good teams not gone up this year.
Yeah,
just give Vassell a new contract, mate. You'll be fine.
No, you're all right, mate.
We're going to end on a couple of these questions from the Seaside podcast. What's going on with the old Millmore Stadium? Still there. Always used to like going down because it was a good away terrace.
Great little stadium, Millmore. It was still owned by our former owner's family. Still standing there as a monument to time. There's a long story behind it. Basically, they're not allowed to change it to anything else other than a sports stadium, but there's no other sports in Rotherham. So it's just going to stand there for a period of time until... I don't know what... We're not going to move back there, obviously, so I don't know what's going to happen to the Millmore, but it was a fantastic place to watch. It was an absolute dive, but it was a great place to watch football.
Right. We're going to end it there because we've got the Cheltenham fan to bring on. But like I said, commiserations and fingers crossed you can forget about early doors, and we look forward to having you on next season.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Matt.
Nice to meet you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys.
From heartbreak to elation, we welcome Tom, another Tom and another Matt. Tom and Matt, I don't want to cage fight you because I don't like the name Sally, so if someone can think of a better name, we can go then. But I understand you're a little bit hungover.
Yeah, just a little bit, lads. What an achievement, eh? What an achievement. I'm still on that cloud 9. Honestly, I am. Hangover, it was a bit of a wild one Saturday, gotta be honest. So still feeling a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Me and Ben were talking pre-match just before you came on. And I think Ed Walker from the D3D4 has tweeted about it a couple of times already, but he liked to reiterate over about 5 times over the weekend that you've gone up with your top goal scorer and just 9 goals just proves that you can be a very decent goal scorer side overall and not rely on that one striker to do the business for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been a team effort. You know, I said to you guys before, like everybody's just put the effort in, and yeah, Alfie May 9 goals. Obviously Andy Williams, former Northampton, we signed him for his experience. He was our top goal scorer, started the season really well. Died off a little bit towards the end, but you know, when you got your top players 8-9 goals apiece, then below that, one of your top goal scorers is their centre back. It's a funny one, but it just goes to show, you know, League 2 is a tough league to get out of. It's a tough league to stay into as well. But yeah, it's a team game, and we've certainly put that point through this year.
Long throw merchants, right?
Apparently so.
Not wrong with him. Not wrong with him.
Don't worry, Tom. We've got James Hill, and that's our best chance of scoring, mate.
Not for long, you haven't, fella.
He's off in the summer. That's another reason to go get the tissue. Just quickly, Tom, a question for me. Obviously, looking at from an outsider, Cheltenham are very entertaining to watch. You saw them against Man City on the on the TV. But it's not just about scoring goals. You've only conceded 39 league goals this season. It's the second best in League Two. Behind Salford, you conceded 34, but you scored 7 more than them. Is that where you think you've built your base off? Not conceding, we'll score 1, we can shut you out, we'll win 1-0.
Yeah, absolutely. Defensively, we've been solid. You look back last year, I think we had the second best defence in English football behind Liverpool. I mean, that's incredible, and we've taken it on. I said before this season, 'cause I've been asked it so many times. I'm sure you guys are going to mention it. Where do you think? Yeah, how do you think it went from that heartbreak last year to winning the league elation this year? It's just mentally, and I think it all come from the fact that we've got our back five sorted so well, and the way Michael Duff likes to play his system, conceding goals isn't a thing for us. It's a problem of scoring goals. If we could have scored goals, we'd probably sealed this up games before the last game of the season. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I think defensively, that's where our main point is, the fact of we're just so reliable on that back three. They've just been solid, they've just been brilliant. And I think, that's where we've excelled. And
just quickly, one more. Do you worry that maybe next year you'll have to bring a goal scoring because you are more likely to concede more goals? It's an obvious stat that's going to come into play. Are you worried you're going to have to score a few more goals to finish higher up the League One table?
Yeah, definitely. That's our main target for me this summer. We got to sign a striker that's got that proven goal scoring, especially at League One level, because I think in League One, as you guys know, it's a big step up from League Two. It is a much bigger step up, and I think you have to have a goal scorer in that league. We'll be all right defensively. I can hand on heart say defensively we'll be fine, but we have to get a goal scorer. Who that is, I don't really know. It's I'm sure the lads at the club have got a plan in place, but that's going to be our biggest target going into the summer. We have to get a goal scorer that is going to score goals, because we create opportunities. We create so many opportunities. Now our downfall, excuse me, lads, has been the fact that we haven't been able to put the ball in the net.
Yeah, absolutely. And got a question in, or should I say a comment from Joe, first and foremost. Congratulations, Cheltenham, cracking club and cracking away day. And then John's put Cheltenham, Tom, congratulations on your promotion. Well deserved. You're like Gillingham, don't get enough credit for your football, in my honest opinion. And then Tony's put, Tom, Michael Duff has done a terrific job and attracting interest. Worried about losing him. Also, is Matty Blair still there and getting a game?
I'm not worried about losing Michael Duff. Not at this point. Obviously, there is going to be interest in him. We know that. Just look at his CV already. It's like 2-3 years in the job. It's amazing what he's been able to achieve. He come into the club, we were 14th. Took over from Russell Milton took over for a bit as assistant, but took over from Gary Johnson that took us from non-league to this level when we went down. We were struggling. We weren't really going anywhere. It was the end of the road for that relationship. He came in. We thought, right, okay, see where it goes. 14th first season, second season, playoffs. And there was just something that changed. And he's got that thing about him that he says it all the time. Never get too high, never get too low. It's got that temperament of a manager that, he does have some sympathy if we don't get results. But on the top of it, he is there to still say, look, we haven't been good enough, and he's honest with that. And I think that's what makes him such a good manager. And obviously, then that's before you even get to what we look like on the pitch. But no, I'm not worried about losing him. I think today, my co-host John Palmer works for a local paper. He tweeted that they're looking to extend his contract on top of what it is. He's still got 2 years on his contract, but I think it's 23 it runs out. So we'll see what we can do there, just to give us that protection if someone does come in. We've got that bit of protection where, look, we're not going to allow you not to go, because I think he is destined for a big job eventually and he deserves it. But I'm not worried about losing him right now. For Matty Blair, I see you said about Matty Blair. I know your man there mentioned it. Big fan.
God.
Top man, great player. yeah, he's still playing. Very much key to how we play our game. If you've watched us, we played the 3-5-2, which consists of him and Chris Hussey. You'll see it yourself. One of the best left backs you'll ever watch play. Top player. He's very much involved, and he's definitely getting a game. That's for sure.
Yeah, so going back to what you were saying about Duff, I think him and Bonner, ironically, both that went up, they both
signed a new contract today, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say he signed a new contract, and they both had that same mentality. I remember them losing 5-4 to Harrogate a week or so ago on a Friday night, and he was on Quest the next day that evening, and he just said, "Look, we know what job we're going to do. Harrogate were great, and they still needed to win or draw at least." On the last day of the season, granted they played sort of a weaker side, but they know what job they had to do, and he kept his head well, as did your guys. So every credit to both those managers who are learning their trade. We're playing some decent football lower down, and like you said, they can be a hard league to get out of. So every credit. Obviously going to be featuring a lot next season on the podcast. But did you want to give the viewers and listeners just a little insight to your podcast?
Do you know what? It's probably basically what you guys do. Just every Thursday, jump on there. Sometimes do it live. Did it live over the games lead up to the title. But every Thursday, brand new podcast out. You find us on YouTube. Just type in the Robins Report. It'll come up there. I'll do that. Obviously, cover the games, cover all the latest news. Try and give the fans a bit of insight, because the reason why I set it up is the fact of you search for a Cheltenham podcast, there wasn't anything. You saw on any online presence of our club, there was nothing, and I just wasn't happy with that. So I thought, do you know what? I've seen what everybody else has done. Why not and go and give it a go? And it just so happens it'd be the year that we won the league. So look, it started well, but yeah, it's going to get harder next year. But you can find us on YouTube, like I said, Robins Report. Find us on Twitter at Robins_report. Come and have a chat, and I'm sure next year we'll be talking a fair bit.
Of course, and you've see how long you keep that C in your name.
Can I keep it right up to the first game of the season?
Yeah, why not? Why not? You deserve it. Tom, has been awesome having you on.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if you've got anything else for him, Jen.
No, just to look for next season.
Yeah, it'd be a tough one. Big league. It'd be a big test for us. We're going to come in, probably have the lowest budget of everybody in the league, but we don't make excuses. So it'd be tough. I'm looking forward to it. Some great away days, by the way. So Tom, I know I mentioned it to you. If you boys could just stay down one more season, please.
Nope.
That'd be great.
All right, take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Take care, Tom.
And he's gone. Right, we're moving on. 43 minutes already. Moving on to our next subject, which interlinks with the week's results as well. So we talk about the playoffs, and that picture going on to Tuesday's results. Two big results, obviously, was Cheltenham beating Lincoln and Blackpool beating Doncaster. Blackpool winning to secure the playoffs, and Cheltenham giving themselves a little bit of hope going into the last day, but it wasn't meant to be. I will quickly share my screen. Sorry, guys. Just the final sort of end of the season. Nothing really to sort of sing about in terms of results, Matt. But obviously, the biggest result is what we talked about earlier, or the two, just as you see on the screen there, with Portsmouth and Accrington Stanley's results. So, do you want to talk us through any of them?
Yeah, I suppose we've already touched on it, haven't we? Accrington, we're not going to take anything away from them. They've been a good side all season. We said when this podcast started that we thought they'd probably just fall away in terms of the playoffs, but nope. We've got there a bit of snooker, lovely. But yeah, credit to John Coleman. He's another one, similarly to Cheltenham coming up next season, work on an absolute shoestring budget, and he's done a brilliant job, and he's been doing it for a long, long time as well. I was rushing around trying to get ready for a 2 p.m. kickoff for my team on Sunday, and I looked at the scores with about 8 minutes to go, I think it was, and Wigan were 3-1 up. So that surprised me when I put the Quest highlights on last night and see that Swindon had come back at 1-4-3. So at least they went out with a bang. Bristol Rovers went out with the worst kind of whimper, didn't they? Unfortunately, didn't score a goal for the last, whatever it was, 47 games. Just really, really poor. But no, it sort of, everything was really settled, wasn't it, for the final day, apart from that last place, and Oxford scoring really early, set themselves up really nicely. And it was always a tall order for Charlton, but Portsmouth folded, unfortunately, like a deck of cards when the pressure came. And big job for Danny and Nicky next season, like we've already mentioned.
Yeah, and just talk about the playoffs. I don't know what game is bigger for you. And being a Blackpool fan, clearly, I'm already nervous for next week. But out of the two, you look at Lincoln and Sunderland, and as a neutral, I think they're going to be two hell of a games, and the first leg is going to be, as obvious as it sounds, really vital. Ben, to how this sort of the two games pan out.
Yeah, absolutely, and Sunderland and Lincoln like to score goals, like to be on the front foot, but I think Sunderland have been poor the last few games. They've only won 1 in 9 or 1 in 10. That was against Plymouth last week, and then obviously Blackpool against Oxford. You got the top goal scorers in 2021 against Blackpool's best defence in 2021. So it's going to be a very nervous game. But Blackpool have the momentum. Blackpool have only lost 3 games in 26 or 2 games in 22. They bounced back from losing 2 games, which is unbelievable. I think they're 3 or 4 unbeaten since then as well. So they've done well to come back, and I'm very much looking forward to watching them. And I do think it'll be. I'm not going to say actually my prediction because I'm going to leave that for later in the week. But I do think it's going to be a very, very interesting final standing.
Yeah, Matt, Oxford, they do like to score goals. And I'm not bringing up the Gillingham game just to wind you up, but you've seen them play you, and they conceded a couple of goals, but they also came back fighting and showed they've got that ability to score sort of a few goals in a matter of minutes. I will say, like I said, as a neutral, regardless of our support, that their record against the top 8 hasn't been great, and they haven't scored a lot against them. So, do you think they need to step up their game in terms of the playoffs, or do you think they'll continue to do what they do and they'll find chances against Blackpool?
I think if you're looking at statistics throughout the season and form, and I think the 2 games between yourselves in the league, they've not scored against you, have they? So in all of that, it points to you being favourites. But I think form goes out the window a little bit when it comes to the playoffs. It's like local derbies, and it's cup football now, isn't it? And nerves and bottle and all that type of thing are going to come into account a lot more than in the regular season, because both sets of players know that there's very little margin for error, and you don't want to be going into that second leg having to chase it. No, Ben knows that all too well from last season. Unfortunately, it's it's a thing where you want to. It's half time, isn't it? 90 minutes is half time, and you want to be in the tie. So, but if you're asking me to pick a winner, Oxford Blackpool, I'd fancy
Oxford, please.
I won't say anything. I'm not. Blackpool.
No. Shush. I'm going to remove Matt just very, very quickly as punishment. No, I'm joking. So I look at that Lincoln game, and sorry to all the Sunderland fans, I made some good friends over the past sort of 10 weeks, but I look at that Lincoln game and I can only see one winner, and we'll do more with our preview show next week. But with the players they've had the ability to rest over the past couple of games, I don't think it's going to affect them. I don't think the last couple of results are going to affect them too much. They're going to have their full strength side out. Sunderland are struggling in terms of if White and McGeady don't play, then they're struggling to score. What's your overall prediction, or what's your overall feeling about that game, and who do you think is more likely to get in the final, if you were just to make a sort of a prediction now?
Go
on.
Any one of you two. Sorry, go with Ben.
I'm not going to say my prediction yet. I'm going to wait for a bit, but I'm just going to say the old cliche. It's going to be who turns up. Really, it's going to be who handles the nerves. And, it's always this thing with the side that come in on the last day. Look at how Millwall came in and snatched the last place a few years in League One. They won it against, obviously, beat Scunthorpe and Bradford. And then you've got Barnsley, when they came in, they were bottom at Christmas, and then went on an absolute flyer. Wickham got in it and probably happy about getting in, whereas Fleetwood were disappointed they didn't go up automatically. And think of Portsmouth and Oxford, really. I think there'll be a few disappointments in Blackpool. I know they're buzzing to be in the playoffs, but I think it's what if we didn't drop points there? What if we didn't, lose a lead there? So, but I'm not going to say a prediction, but I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. I don't know where to
You
go
can't
yet.
predict the draw, mate. Have something about you.
A draw for the first leg, draw for the second leg, and it'll go to penalties, and whoever wins the coin toss will go through. I've got a video coming out at the end of the week, and I'm waiting. I'm saving for that.
We're not plugging your own channel here, mate. Right. John's just loved it. Put no C's, please. Nice comment here from Les. Very important question. I love the third tier. Will it still exist if Blackpool can't be? Yes, it absolutely will. And I will still be on it. Tom, who do you think will be promoted from the playoffs? I said weeks ago, I don't want to play Lincoln, but look, as a Blackpool fan, I'll stand here and say we've got the squad to do it. We've got the ability to do it. And you know, I'll have every faith in my team that we're going to do it. And that's not me being big-headed. It's not me going to be turned into a meme. That I just believe our boys can do it, and I have faith in our squad. You know, we've got the ability to. So it'd be disappointment if we don't at least get to the final. And that's all I'll say. Which team will surprise us in the playoffs? Lincoln is my show. I don't know about you, Matt.
I don't think there is a surprise team in the playoffs. I'm sorry. They're four good sides. At the end of the day, they're in the playoffs for a reason because they've been really good over 46 teams. So I don't think there's a surprise if any of them go up. You won't say they don't deserve it because Sunderland have been in and around it all season. Blackpool have been in and around it for, you know, since probably October. Oxford are on a flying run to get in there. And Lincoln, you know, I said a few weeks ago they were the best side I'd played when they beat us at the Priestfield. So I don't think there's a surprise package. That's why it's the playoffs, because they're all in there on merit. And if I had to stick my neck on the line, I'm going to go for a Blackpool-Sunderland final.
Fair enough. Enough of that playoff talk because it's making me nervous already. We're going to end the show with player achievements this year. So me and Ben and Matt just wanted to go through sort of the accolades of this season. And I know we've still got the playoffs to come and there will be a couple of more shows before the end of the season. But Matt, we'll start with you. You've obviously got the obvious top goal scorer this season in Johnson Clark-Harris, but sum up sort of some of the strikers that you've seen this season. And obviously Johnson Clark-Harris has been out of this world, but has any other striker sort of been a surprise package for you and one you've enjoyed watching? I know Dane Oliver is one of them, being a neutral from here as well. He's been incredible this season. But
yeah, Dane from a bias point of view has been absolutely spot on. I think he only scored 4 league goals last season for Northampton, and he didn't arrive to a lot of fanfare, but he's been absolutely brilliant. And he's getting the goals that his performances deserved in the second half of the season. I put out a few tweets today about him, to be honest. I was fanboying, I won't lie. And I did it month by month. And I think the most he'd scored in a month was 2 or 3. And then March came and he just turned into a cross between Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. He got 8 in 8 games and was absolutely phenomenal and ended up with 20. But there's been plenty of good ones, hasn't there? Joe Piggott's a name that we've mentioned a few times. He's effectively kept Wimbledon up. Dion Charles had a breakthrough season at Accrington Stanley, got in the Northern Ireland squad. Charlie White, you know, him and Aidan McGeady, how many goals and assists? Like, I think Ben's alluded to it before. They're like the Son and Kane of the third tier. And there's plenty, though, isn't there? They're the out-and-out strikers, but you've got plenty of wide attackers now that thrive and score plenty of goals. The likes of Malik Wilkes and stuff like that. And Matty Taylor's up there with 18 now, another proper number 9 who's been there and done it at this level. And John Marquis, there's a name right up there in the top 10. Apparently he's had a poor season. Luke Jeffcott from midfield's got 16. There's plenty. There's some really good number 10s in this division as well, or that were in this division prior to last weekend. Sammy Samodic, George Huddyman, both really good players. But I think one that's gone right under the radar for a team that's won the league is Josh McGuinness. And I said that a couple of weeks ago. He's got 18 and he's been absolutely phenomenal. And
sorry,
go on, carry on. Yeah, I just think he seems to sort of be missed out, and they've won the league for a reason.
No, you're spot on. I was speaking to Ant about this the other week. McGuinness is, like you say, 18 goals and he's hardly talked about at all because of their star men, and he's popped up with really important goals at really important times, and there's also been a pivotal point in the dressing room as well, from what I understand as well. So I think he deserves to be in and around their squad next season at least. Yeah, Joe's pointed out, I think my star man up front would be the first one on that list as well. Joe Pigott, for me, when I've watched him this season, he's led the line superbly well. And like you say, he's dragged Wimbledon out of certain situations and certain games. So, Ben, you, strikers?
Jerry Yates, 20 goals, considering he didn't starts so well. He's like I said to you the other day, he's like a dog chasing a ball, and he's just absolutely. He's mad as well, which is which you want your players to be passionate about it. Obviously, Oliver at Gills had a very good season. Obviously, Piggott outstanding, 20 goals. Created pretty much 30-40% of Wimbledon's goals. You've got McGuinness, another good striker that Matt's touched on. I can't remember his name now. I'll find. Jeff Boutford, 16 goals. Although I didn't think he scored in his last 18 games of the season.
Right.
So he started the season well and ended it poorly. But although that, he got a lot of goals as well. Malik Wilkes, another good player as well. So a lot of good strikers this year, and out of all them, Carvacel's still better than them.
I'll ask both of you the question, starting with you, Matt. If you could sign any player for your side in League One this season, who would it be? Any player that you think Gillingham that you need, sort of things. It might be Cunningham in the midfield, for example, but
we can pick people that have gone up, like, so we can have a hull or
from League One season. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, blimey.
All right. Let's put it like this. I'll give you one goalkeeper, one defender, one midfield, and one striker.
I'm struggling for one. I've got to think of four.
I don't mind.
Chris Maxwell would be my keeper, just because he's been that good. I like Jack Bonham, but Chris Maxwell's been outrageously good, so I'd pick him. Johnson Clark Harris, that's obvious. As the striker. Midfielder. Big fan of Smodic. I like Sammy Smodic. I think he's really good. This is really obvious, isn't it? I'm trying to think of an experienced centre half that's been right up there.
Do you know who's gone under the radar this year in terms of defenders? Well, because Beavers is at the headlines, but his centre half partner Kent has been phenomenal this season.
Frankie Kent's very good. Yeah. All right. So I'll just buy Peterborough.
Yeah. Mine. I like your picks, Matt. Mine would be Maxwell. I love Alex Cairns. Wouldn't have anyone over him. Centre half would be Atkinson from Oxford, left-footed. Centre half, Young likes to carry it out from defence. Midfield, I'm going to go different from Smike because I'm going to go for Brennan Johnson. Attack-minded, young, exciting, likes to get on the ball. Obviously, get a couple of penalties. And then up front, obviously, it's got to be Johnson Clark Harris. And I think Darren McAntony put a funny tweet out. He goes, "We should start charging strikers to come to Peterborough after what they've gone and done. I've been only getting 31 goals, and Johnson Clark Harris getting 31 goals."
Yeah, it's Andrew Robbs coming with a great shout. Brennan Johnson, who I called Brendan Rodgers last week, didn't I? So, Brennan Johnson's been quality this year.
So we've all been there. I called Ollie Palmer, Ollie Watkins 2 weeks ago. So
you did, yeah. Just to send shivers down your spine, Matt.
Tommy, we've got to Dane Oliver now, though. We can't. Like I said this the other week, Les. If we get another target man in, we'll get absolutely battered on social media for going long ball.
Yeah, but you've only made 18 short passes and 180 long balls. But remember, they're 22nd in the league and you're 10.
We've got a nice video.
Joe's come in. Don't need one. Blackpool fan, defender Hill from the Cods. I think to talk
Hill's
about
a good shout. To be fair, he's been really good.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Joe.
Mugidi and Piggott. It's a nice it's a nice mix of players there, considering he's not going for the obvious as well. So thanks for getting your comment in, Joe. That's all for this week, guys. It's wrapped up under an hour. I think it's the first show we've hit just under an hour. So it's been another top show, and it's good to have sort of the two fans on as well. And next Monday we're going to be talking playoffs, of course, and we'll have another few guests on. I think we've got Stacey West back on, which he was a phenomenal guest, and Graham from What the Folk as well. I'll be representing Blackpool, of course, and we should have a Oxford fan on.
Graham's coming on to what? Talk us through how they won the league.
Yeah, I've never been so confident of anything in my life.
Win the league, I tell you now. He's like Kevin Keegan.
Oh God, he's going to
beat them.
What? He won't listen to all of this show. So what we're going to do next week is start the show with his 10-second clip of him.
Just clip that on and say we're going to win the league. That could be the opening credits. Bless him.
And I might bring Ant on just so him can have a Honeyman and McGeady argument as well. But no, thanks both of you for coming on. Ben, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Tom, as ever, and it's been good to speak to you and Matt. And hopefully next week can be another banger.
Yeah, it should be decent. And Matt, thanks again for coming on.
No problem at all. Really enjoyed it again.
All that leaves me to say is please like and subscribe this video. Subscribe on our YouTube channel so you can help us grow and create better content. And don't forget to visit our Big Cartel website so you can pick yourself up a nice mug. But from all of us at the third tier, have a lovely evening. Goodbye.